The conspiracy people always think they're just gonna, they'll tank Game 4 because they want to win in front of their fans in Game 5. I don't necessarily subscribe to that conspiracy theory. I think the Oilers win in. They look like two completely different teams. The Oilers win in. They changed up their lines, and all four of their lines contributed 2 goals each. So everyone was scoring on that team. I guess they decided to play Oilers style hockey instead of getting into the physical stuff, and it did get a little physical towards the end of the second period. But the game was sewn up. It's done by then. It was 6-1 Oilers in that one. I was on last call with Kelly, and one of the questions was, "What do you think of the total?" And I thought it would be a higher scoring game. I didn't anticipate an 8-1 game. But you look at the analytics so far in this series, and with the exception of Game 2, every single XG number of the 3 other games have been higher than the actual betting total of 5.5. The last game, the one in Edmonton, the final score was 8-1. The actual XG numbers, expected goals, 4.62 to 3.83. Not much separation there. It was a bad game for Bobrovsky. It was a bad game for Stolarz when he came in. And but the numbers across the board were pretty even for a game that definitely wasn't even. 35 to 33 were the shots. I don't put much stock in that, but the high danger chances 17 to 12. The scoring chances for each team 45 to 42. It's one of those ones where I think there's a carryover from that game. I think the only play for me tomorrow is going to be the over. It's another closeout game. The Oilers are going to come. They're going to push the play. Whether they can do it in Florida is a completely different story. I know they're taking it one game at a time. Let's win it and let's win Game 5 and send it back to Edmonton for Game 6 and see what happens. I don't see the Florida Panthers losing this series by any stretch of the imagination. I think they win tomorrow night, and I think it's going to be a high-scoring game. I'm going to let the numbers lead me on this one, and 3 or 4 games, the XG numbers show the game should have gone over the total. 2 of the 4 games actually win over the total, and that's where I'm leaning at 5.5, over 5.5, and the VIG's only 115 on it.
So Bobrovsky went into Game 4 as the hottest goalie, a guy who's been standing on his head crazy here in the postseason, and then he just gave up, had the worst game of his of the playoffs. Is there carryover there? Is the hot goalie not hot anymore? Because the number's cheap for the home favorite, which is telling us that there's support here for the road dog. Do we trust Bobrovsky to get right back on track?
I do. You look at the previous series for him. Let's take out the Rangers one because they completely shut down the Rangers. But in the opening series, there was a game. I think it was Game 4. Game 4 Game 4 was in Tampa Bay, and Tampa pumped him for like 6 goals in that game, and he bounces back and they win Game 5. And you look at Game 1 against the Boston Bruins. Bruins come into Florida. Once again, pump him for like 6 goals in that one. They beat him 6-1, and he responds with a phenomenal game in Game 2. Florida goes on to easily win that series as well. I have no problem. There should be no thought, I think, of is there a carryover to it. The one thing the Oilers are doing now that they didn't do earlier in the season, Teddy, or earlier in the series, was shoot high on them. Game 1, they were shut out. Every single chance they had was low. He hadn't allowed a goal in the playoffs through the 5-hole. He allowed one going into Game 4. I think it was at 28 of 38? I think it was 26 of 38 goals that he had allowed were either top right or top left, over the glove hand, over the blocker hand. The Oilers have to go high on them. That's the scouting report is there. Go high on them. The Oilers did that very well on Saturday. Let's see if they can do it again on Tuesday. I just want this game to go over the total. And at that point, kind of like using the Pavlos line, I don't care who wins as long as there's 6 or more goals.